Hi, and welcome to Hannah's Writers Podcast. My name's Charlotte, and I work as a Year 2 teacher in a primary school in London. If you haven't heard any podcasts from Hannah's Writers before, then have a listen on their YouTube and Spotify channels. You can search for them on both websites, and you can start listening to the podcasts that they have available. On June the 5th, it is World Environment Day. So this month is a time to celebrate the wonderful Earth and the world that we live in. We are lucky to live on planet Earth because there is no other planet that we could live on. The rest are uninhabitable for us, so we have to look after the Earth. Otherwise, we won't have anywhere else to live. So because on June the 5th it is World Environment Day, the Republic of Korea is going to host the World Environment Day in 2025. And on this day, they have a campaign, and they usually look at different ways that we can look after the Earth, different ways that we can help solve problems for the Earth and look after it. So this year, the campaign is looking at ways on how to beat plastic pollution. Plastic is used everywhere in the world, and so much of it has been used around the world that we even have microplastics everywhere as well. I'm sure you've heard about it in the news, or you've seen some kind of advert about it, or pop-ups on TikTok and social media, and I'm sure they're telling you about it, or maybe subliminally messaging you. But the campaign this year is based on ideas that we can bring to work on how to tackle the plastic pollution that we have in the world. And it draws on inspiration from nature, showcases real world solutions as well, things that we can start doing if we haven't started it already, and things that we are already doing to try and minimize the use of plastic. And the campaign is basically meant to encourage individuals like us, people who live day to day, organizations or the big companies who use plastic daily, industries as well, like clothing industries, food industries, just general retail shops, and also the government, to ask them to adopt a sustainable practice and do something that will drive change in the world. So this year's World Environment Day comes about 2 months before the countries all meet again to continue negotiating a global treaty on how to end plastic pollution altogether. So this campaign is asking you to join in with the hashtag Beat Plastic Pollution movement. And they want you to set up an event on the day, the 5th of June, on the World Environment Day, and then share your event with the world. So with this in mind, I was thinking that we can look for stories about how we can look after the world and look after the environment. In my last podcast, I talked about the National Share a Story Month. That was in May. And their theme was saving the world one book at a time. Again, they wanted to raise awareness with us and everybody and highlight different types of stories that people have written that could help maybe inspire people to take action about environmental issues. And it comes quite nicely now in June that we then look at different ways that we can stop plastic pollution. So it really does tie in nicely with the World Environment Day this year. And World Environment Day still wants us to get involved and to take action and try to stop. Well, we can't stop it, but to prevent as much plastic pollution now as we can. So the question is, what can we do to get involved? What can we do to help out? You may think that doing something small isn't enough, but it might just be you don't know. One small thing can lead to a big thing, which can lead to another big thing. So don't think that whatever you're doing isn't enough, or don't think that, I don't need to get involved. Everyone should at least try. And if you do one small thing today, it might make a difference in the future. So if you're not even sure as well how to get involved or what you can do, Um, Maybe read a story. If you have children or you have friends and you have a book club or you want to get your kids involved as well, then find some stories about looking after the earth. And there's quite a lot of different stories that people have written. And they all have a different story, they all have a different meaning. And it's just generally good practice to read about it and, be informed. I mean, even if you don't do anything like recycle, or even if you don't go around picking up litter, you're getting people's knowledge there. You're supporting that knowledge base so that people understand what the reason is of why they should prevent plastic pollution. And also, it's just good information about the topic, and then maybe you can see what you can do to help going forwards. So if you're ready to do something, or you want to try and do something, or you want to get involved and you want to try and get other people involved, maybe your community or your local town or the place just where you live. If you're good friends with your neighbours, you can ask them maybe to help to clean up your local area. If you walk down your street, you might see lots of rubbish everywhere. You might see plastic everywhere, bits of packaging, bits of maybe plastic bottles. There's maybe of random bits of plastic. I'm sure you've seen it when you walk down the road and you walk past a park and you just look down and there's a whole heap of rubbish there. There's plastic, cardboard, food containers for sure, tin cans, probably drink cans, probably Pringle pack boxes and stuff. And you're just like, oh God, look at all of this. And then you just carry on walking past it and you forget about it. Maybe like in your town, then you can start a pick up litter day or a litter pick day or a group where you go around and just pick up rubbish where you live. You may see some, you may not see some, but at least if you do see a lot, get some people together, get some friends and family, ask them, can you help me on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning, and go around and do a bit of a cleanup, do a litter pick, a big cleanup or something along those lines, and pick up the plastic, pick up the rubbish, the cardboard, the paper, the glass, and so on. I mean, you don't have to use your hands. Maybe you can just get a grabber. You can buy a grabber from the pound shop and just go for it. Get an empty bag, collect up rubbish, maybe card in one bag, plastic in another, glass in another. You could even get your friends, you pick up glass only, you pick up cardboard only, you pick up, plastic only, and then they collect them, and then you can go and recycle them at the recycling bins. And this actually then helps you to clean up your town, and it helps you to bring people's awareness to exactly just how much litter there is everywhere. It's important for us to recycle things because we want that stuff, to be not to be wasted, but then not to just be left on the ground because they don't decompose, apart from cardboard maybe, but it will take a while for them to decompose. So if you recycle them, at least they're going somewhere to a recycling facility where they can just be processed and maybe changed into something else. If you're part of a book group or you want to read stories with your child, go to the library, find some books about looking after the world. There's child-friendly books about sea creatures. Maybe there's a story there or two that you can find and you can read up on it with your child. And then your child can also understand that if they're eating something or if they've got litter, they've got plastic, they have to go and recycle it. They have to put it in the bin. They have to do something and not just throw stuff on the floor because, it's just making a mess everywhere. And again, it's that awareness and noticing and being part of it and everyone doing their bit. There's quite a few good books around it. So there's some stories like No More Plastic in the Ocean. You can even watch it on YouTube. It's quite a nice one. There's even some videos as well. If you go on YouTube and you click maybe books about looking after the ocean or looking after the plastic, and you might even find a video to watch. You don't even have to read a book. So you can get your child to watch stuff on YouTube to help them understand why they need to tidy up. There's a good book by Nathan Bryan. It's called Rocket Says Clean Up. It's about a girl called Rocket, and she goes around cleaning up the world. There's one called No More Plastic, and that's quite a nice one to read and to listen to. There's one called No More Plastic in the Ocean. There's one called Clean Up, again, by Nathan Bryan. And Save the Ocean by Bethany Stoll. And you can even just like look up different types of books on how to look after the world. They're child-friendly books as well, so they look like little cartoon characters and girls and boys who go around trying to recycle. Maybe they clean up the beach, or they tell you what happens if the plastic is in the ocean, or just try and get people involved, really. You could even try to, if your book group is into story writing, get them to write their own stories. They can write their own short stories about how important it is to look after the earth and why it's important to look after the earth. Again, as I've said at the beginning of this podcast, this earth is literally the only one we've got. There's no other earth that we could live on. There's no other planet that we could live on even. So if we don't start getting involved and we don't start looking after it, who knows how long the world might carry on in this state. Maybe even get your friends and families to write poems, and then you can share your poems on social media. Get people involved on social media as well. Ask them to help do things in their company, in their community, at their company even. Maybe even get them to start recycling, composting, if they have space for composting, or putting their bits away in recycle bins. You can even maybe get your children, if you've got children, to create a comic book. Get them to do their own, design their own, read the stories and say, oh, why don't we create a comic about how to look after the earth and why it's important to do so? And that then gets the children involved, and it makes them think about it as well, and why they need to help support looking after the earth. If you've got teenagers as well, they can also do like graphic comics, again, just comic books. They don't have to write a whole short novel, but maybe they can create a superhero who goes around saving the world and recycling bits and tidying up after people who just, mess up the world. It's just, something fun. It doesn't have to be something too serious. I'm just throwing out ideas, really. But again, the whole idea is to make them aware of what's happening around them and what's happening in the big wide world, really. So, on the 5th of June, it is World Environment Day. Get involved. Maybe you can do a TikTok about looking after the world. Maybe you can and put it on social media. Maybe you can create something for Instagram. Maybe do your comic books and try to sell it off, and people might get involved. Show your friends and families, get them involved in everything. Maybe do the cleanup day, maybe do the litter pick day, whatever you want to do. But then don't just do it just for the 5th of June. Try to keep going every month or every day. Remember, remind yourself this is important and we got to look after the earth. That's all for this podcast, and I hope that you join in to look after the world. Please have a look. The hashtag is beat plastic pollution, and it is a movement that we are trying to get people involved in. I might encourage you and your friends to look after the earth better, and just take a bit more care when they're throwing their rubbish away, and notice what's happening around them. If you enjoyed this podcast and you'd like to listen to more, there are lots more podcasts, not about just World Environment Day, but about books, stories you can read. I've done some podcasts about authors and different ways that people can learn about English and how they can get supported with their exams. There's just so many different podcasts that I've made so far with Hanaz writers. You can listen to them on YouTube or their Spotify channels. If you are also interested in becoming a published author, then please visit Hanaz Writers' website and sign up. It is free to sign up, and they will give you support and they will help you out. If you want to become a published author yourself, you've got a book that you want to write, go for it. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, bye.
If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and share. It really helps us out and keeps the content coming. Want to rock some awesome merch? Check out our online store, TikTok shop, or eBay page for exclusive Hanaz writers gear. Do not forget to stay connected. Links to our social profiles can be found down below in the description. Got a brilliant idea you'd love to publish? We'd love to hear from you. Email us or visit our website at https://hanazwriters.org for all the details on how to get started. Thanks for watching and supporting Hanaz Writers. We hope to see you again soon.